Freigabe haben wir draußen. Wir können rechtzeitig um 8:54 Uhr starten. Bitte daran denken, wir haben einen 2 Minuten Startintervall. Startinterval first in 2 minutes. Start first pilot class in 3 minutes. Und dann ist soeben die Meldung gekommen am Start. 1 Minute 1. Eine Minute. An der Dach, es geht los. Christian Reich gestartet, Anlehnung vorbei, in den Bobsleigh. Dann 2, dann Telefonne. Vorbei, Spitze. Starting 20 seconds. In Sekunden. Daar is het Dixon voorbij.
Leaving nothing on the table. Nice into 15. Oh, and very late.
Pascal, een kijkersplek gaan we Fire move 3. Fire move. Es geht los, 9:04. Die nächste Verfehlung.
Saturday morning, St. Moritz in Switzerland. Is there anywhere better to be? Well, if you're an ice slider, no, there probably isn't. Welcome everybody to the first of our bobsleigh races for this weekend on this fabulous natural track running from the town of St. Moritz down to Celerina in the valley below. 25 sleds will start our race this morning from the original entry list of 27. Martin Haven and Nathan Crumpton ready to watch the action on the longest track in the business, and also, Nathan, the only one remaining that is old school, built by hand every year.
Yes, indeed. Built by hand, importing tons of snow every year. You can see on the video we have this natural built track over a mile long for competition, starting out with these very long, flat straightaways from kink 1 into kink number 2 here, where you really have to nail that straightaway as best as possible to preserve all of that velocity before getting into these more technical sections of the track, starting with wall right here, this multiple pressure left-hand turn that then drops you out into the snake combination. You have snake 1 here, followed by snake 2 before spinning you out into Sunny Corner. Sunny, one of the few corners that does have permanent construction on the track, will then take you into Nash and Dixon, named after the British Olympic champions, before getting to Horseshoe Corner, the quintessential corner for bobsled and skeleton here. That drops you into the lower half of the track, getting into Devil's Dyke here, the sweeping left-hander, then into the nameless corner, followed by a very tricky 4 right-hand corner combination. You have tree, then bridge, then leap, then Gunter Sachs, all dropping you about 10 meters in quick succession before getting into the top speed corner of the track here at Martineau, uphill into Portago, and then finishing, as you mentioned, in the town of Celerina.
Yeah, it's a great looking track, and for the athletes, not only are the surroundings fabulous, but the track itself is so totally different. The concrete channels that we normally race in reverberate, particularly with the bobsleds. You get that thunder as they go by. Here, you can't shake a mountain with a bobsled. It's just as simple as that. So it's almost silent. The biggest noise you hear, little chatter of the runners and the wind whistling past your helmet. You can literally hear the track announcer as you're going down, which is a weird thing. It's like Formula 1 but with no engine noise. So Formula E, okay. And it's long, and that's sustained high speed, but without massive G-force pressures that you get on a lot of the natural track. So it's almost like we should call this a different sport. And in fact, next door to us, the Cresta Run, where skeleton started, that sort of is a different sport, and it's as traditional as this. So for a century and a quarter, they've been racing here. You just saw Alana Myers-Taylor, the most successful driver on this track in Monobob. 2 wins last season when we had double races. Lisa Buchwitz, a winner here as well. Lara Nolte, the world champion here 3 seasons ago, and they're all in today's start list. But we've lost Canada's Kristen Buchnowski. She's pulled out this morning. She's not well enough to race. And Maya Voigt is healthy enough, but did 5 training runs in Monobob and only 1 in the women's bob. And the maximum you're allowed in any discipline is 4, so she will not compete either.
Yep.
World Cup number 6 of the Monobob. We are in St. Moritz in Switzerland, and China's Ying Qing gets us underway. 18th in both of last year's races here in Mono. They were on consecutive days after the first race weekend. The track was too warm for the mono competition. Let's see what she can produce.
And with a start time here of 5.98 seconds, which gives a start record because this is the first monobob competition of the year on this track, and because it is a fresh track, that record is reset every single year.
Yeah, track is subtly different every season. Nice and quiet down through wall, a little 2 pressure corner, hardly any pressure, really just roll up and down and then into snake.
And making a nice smooth run so far, just as we see some snow starting to fall. Hopefully does not accumulate too much and gives us as fair of a race as possible. Getting a little bit sideways there through Nash and Dixon. As we've seen in Skeleton earlier, that has been a tricky part of this track. And from what we've heard, this is actually one of the trickiest St. Moritz tracks that we've seen in many years.
Yeah, particularly Horseshoe. They reshaped it in the middle of the training week, but the first couple of days, it was really hard to get off there. Okay, speed of 106.5 kilometers an hour. They'll be doing 130-ish down at the bottom here in this cold morning run. As the day warms up, it should get quicker.
Yeah, so 126.25. We'll see how that stacks up compared to the rest of the field as she ducks just crossing across the finish line. 1:13.57 to set the pace for this first heat of women's monobob.
And again, because the track is subtly different, the first slider down always gets start record on track record, at least for 2 minutes until the next sled comes, or whoever goes quicker. That was a neat and tidy looking run, not too skiddy.
No,
but here, Nash and Dixon, that's been tricky, hasn't it?
It has, yes, for skeleton as well as for these bigger monobobs and bobsleds. It's not been as easy as in previous years. Here's a great shot through horseshoe, getting good height, not quite up at the woodwork, but a smooth line, and then taking it off of the corner into telephone.
Great shot going away there of where the hands work on the D-rings. Next up, Leah Hasselvanter. And you can see that they're worrying a little about the snow because she went immediately that the light changed. 6:06 at the start. Not the fastest starter. This is only her 4th race of this season in the World Cup.
No, and that is a tactic that athletes will use, is if there's snow, they want to get out of the grooves as quickly as possible so they're not slowing down at all at the start and preserve as much velocity as they can.
Well, a little slower at the start, 800s behind Yingqing of China, through Sunny Curve, not living up to its name yet, but the sun hasn't come over the mountain enough.
No, we saw a small skid there coming off of Sunny, and a little bit of a skid and double tap there going into horseshoe. That's going to bleed out a little bit more speed as she enters the lower half of this track. 25
sleds in the entry, the fastest 20 go through into the second heat, and the first 3 sleds on ice are not from the top 10 in the World Cup standing, so they're kind of our outliers who were going earlier.
Yes, and if you can look close, you can see just the back of the sled washing out just a little bit off the exit of each corner, losing that grip, and that's where she's scrubbing a little bit of speed. She takes a little brush on the slider's right side out of Martineau and crosses the finish line about 4/10 back.
So that is going to leave her in danger of not making a second heat. And in fact, she made the cut last week in Winterberg, and that was the first time this season. Just missed out in Cortina. She was 21st, and the following week in Innsbruck as well. Same deal, even on a home track, just a whisker outside, making the second heat.
There we go. We see that exit out of Dixon and then takes that double tap just before entering horseshoe. Horseshoe, of course, so critical for generating speed in the lower half of the course. And then here towards the bottom of the track, getting a smooth entry there, but all smiles at the bottom.
Yep. One of the newer drivers in the field. One of the more experienced is Giada Andreucci of Italy. Last week was her first World Cup since Innsbruck in January 2023. Not that she hasn't been racing, just that the Italians hadn't been in the World Cup.
And a 6:28 start, so putting her in 3rd position, over a quarter of a second behind our leader from China. So she's going to have some work to do as she makes her way down this course.
And look at the runners. The track surface is not entirely flat, and so the runners are meandering around like a car does on an uneven road surface.
Indeed, and so just like in a bobsled, there are D-rings, and the driver controls those runners. You can steer them to the left and to the right, and that's what gets the sled on and off these corners, and hopefully on the optimal line.
And without the weight of a push athlete in the back, the sleds tend to skid a lot at the rear.
They were, and we just saw it there entering horseshoe. That back end really kicking out and drifting away. That is not going to do her any favors. Second fastest speed, though, still well under that 100-kilometer-an-hour mark, though.
Yeah, so she's a little quicker than Leah Hasselvanter, but she's a long way behind her in the run down to the bottom. So she's already 9/10 off Yingqing of China. I don't expect Ying to miss the cut, but I think Giada Andreucci might be in trouble.
Yep, she made it back there with the top speed at the bottom of the track, but the track might just be a little bit too short and falling back by almost 9/10 of a second.
And that deficit at the start, Yingqing started 5:98, Giada started 6:28, so 3/10 back. And by bobsleigh maths, that should be 9/10 at the bottom. She's 8800s back at the bottom. And so, yeah, that pretty much played out. Where you start, it's like having a less powerful engine in a drag race.
Exactly.
It's going to be hard to win.
It is. And there you saw those skids off of Dixon, and then here's the exit off of horseshoe going into telephone, getting onto telephone without taking the hit, luckily.
She is so glad to be back. Now then, Lara Nolte, world champion here in 2023, ahead of Kaylee Humphries and Lisa Buchwitz, all 3 still in the field.
with a new start record, 5.85 seconds. And we're about to witness one of the most dominant forces in women's monobob here, so I'm expecting a great time from her and maybe setting the standard for this race as we go down this track here.
Well, she only got one medal in the 2 races last year. She was bronze in race 2, but she's had a silver the year before and a World Championship gold, and she is, I mean, and she's one of the leaders in women's bobsleigh as well. So the world champion or Olympic champion Kaylee Humphries also in the field.
And that's the best line out of Dixon that we've seen yet. Straight out of Dixon into horseshoe. Smooth exit. Little tiny skid there, but top speed so far. She corrects a little tap as well, just getting a bit away from her down in the lower half.
Yeah, that telephone shamrock transition has been pretty tricky, and she got caught out. Better speed and 6/10 up on Ying Ching, which is to be expected.
Yep. She's got that really fast, well-engineered FES sled. They've got the reputation for being very fast, and she's showing it here.
Yeah, 1:28.92, so this should be about 8/10 ahead at the line. A full second, 1:12.54. Wow.
That is phenomenal. Great speed. Opening that up by, yes, as you mentioned, over a full second, which in this sport, that is eons.
Well, again, not expecting Ying, who was the first out, necessarily to be in the top 6 or 7. I mean, her best result, Ying Ching, has been a 14th place finish this year. Laura Nolter, gold, silver, bronze, silver, gold. That's her 5 races this year.
And that's why she's doing so well in the World Cup overall standings.
Yeah. Breathless. I mean, you're only pushing this 200-kilo sled for 5 seconds, but we're nearly 2,000 meters above sea level here, so even walking is a bit breathless. And that's one of the challenges of St. Moritz. That sprint is so important. 5:82, Melly Hasley goes quicker again, new start record, but then you're gasping for breath. Saw this in training. Look,
yes, the off-kilter view.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is an aerodynamic strategy, trying to be off-centered for better aero.
Well, no, but she's leaning right back to get the weight over the back of the sled to counteract the fact that there's no push athlete to stop it skidding, which means she can't actually see over the crown of the sled. So she's ducking her head.
Yeah, and because she does look more centered now, and you're right, but that was a very interesting look coming down through those long straightaways. A little bit of height there on the end of horseshoe.
And you'll see nowadays a lot of drivers are ducking their head. As soon as they're out of a corner and onto a little straight run, they'll duck their head just to save a 100th here or there.
Exactly, and we're looking at a phenomenal run, by the way, opening up 0.3 of a second lead over Laura Nolte. That is, wow, some home track advantage. Is that what we're witnessing here?
No, we're witnessing somebody who loves this place. Over a kilometre an hour quicker in the forest.
That's amazing. And then crossing the line here with, yes, a new track record by a 1/3 of a second, 1:12.21.
All right, I'm expecting her to fade badly in the second heat because I predicted she'd be on the podium, and that's normally the kiss of death.
Oh, what a great run. And we see the smile through the helmet as well.
Yeah.
Phenomenal run there by Melanie.
Hasn't been on the podium this season, but this does represent a great opportunity for her.
And this is where it starts. This is where the initial velocity and all that momentum is created. It's that push, being a powerhouse off of the block, driving that sled, getting those knees high and pushing it as fast as possible.
All right, now then, let's see what Melissa Lottholz can produce. 17th and 11th in the 2 races here last year. And she's had a best result of 5th place this year, 5:85. She's another strong ex-push athlete.
Indeed, only a few hundredths off of the newly set start record here. And you've got to shout out, look at that visor, that reflective visor. That looks really cool here on the St. Moritz.
Well, they've got that kind of red chrome detailing on a lot of the kit, and she's just matched up with the visor. Really nice.
It matches the team kit, and she is just over a 10th back here, entering this middle section of the course into Dixon.
And the other thing, of course, here is that you get a lot of glare on sunny days because everything is white. White track, white walls, white surroundings, white roof, white everything.
Indeed. Great speed, 98.85. That is fantastic speed. We'll see if she can claw it back as she fights for this top position here.
Yeah, she's bringing it back quicker than Melly Hasler. So we're starting to see the track is actually getting polished up a fraction by these sleds as they go down.
Right, which is another unique thing about St. Moritz, is that it usually gets faster later on.
We're going to be very close to the lead here. Very, very close. She was only 1200s back. 600s back. There you go. Lyndon Rush on the left, Justin Cripps on the right. Both medalists on this track in the two-man.
And that is some great racing right there.
And there are the girls down at the bottom. The athletes, the drivers call this lonely, Bob, because they never have anybody with them at the start line.
Here's the one little error that we saw. It's a double tap before horseshoe, but she gets it back on the right side of the track, brings that sled off of the corner with a smooth exit, and very close to the lead.
Without those taps, she would be our leader. So, yeah, lots to play for now for Katie Bile as well. 12th in race 1, 9th in race 2 last year. She had medals in the last 2 races, Lillehammer and Sigulda, before the Christmas-New Year break.
So she is on a roll, and she's looking to continue that medal-winning streak here with a 5.90 start. 4th best in the field so far.
And just 500s behind former push athlete Melissa Lottholtz.
And again, see it again.
Yeah, leaning back and looking
off
out
to the side.
like a Florida grandma looking over the steering wheel.
Entering the snake combination here. Snake 1, quick transition into snake 2. One of the few areas where you do have a very quick transition on this track, which is defined by these long straightaways between corners. Now another quicker transition. Looking good. That's a nice exit out of Dixon right there.
Really good Nash and Dixon. Good horseshoe height as well. Nice landing into telephone.
And she's rewarded with the fastest speed as well, 99.27 through that horseshoe section.
All right, she is around where Lauren Alter was at this stage, and better speed again for Katie Bile.
Yes, one of the veterans here in the field. We were chatting with her earlier in the week, and she was explaining how she enjoys this monobob ride with, again, now the first athlete over that 130.5 mark. Can she claw it back?
She's going to be 3rd at the line, a quarter of a second back, but ahead of Lauren Alter, 1:12.46.
And not a bad run at all there, sitting in 3rd at the moment, slightly ahead of German Laura Nolte, and not a bad position at all.
Yeah, Nolte 3/10 off is a big surprise.
It is. Here's that exit off of horseshoe, getting a pretty smooth transition, little knock around. You can see the helmet batting around on the cowling just a bit, but avoids the hit before telephone.
Yeah, little late flop off horseshoe. She and Melly Hasler are absolutely nuts together. Now, Cynthia Appiah, first medal of the monobob season last week in Winterberg. Let's see what that has done to her motivation in her 30th monobob World Cup start.
And with a start time here, 5:88, very close, only 600ths off that lead here. That should help her.
And again, with that chrome visor to match the colours on the sled and on the team kit. And Appiah, I mean, really coming on really well. She prefers the women's bobsleigh. The results are just better in monobob. I mean, go figure.
Right, and that's what she was saying, that it's really difficult to control these monobobs, that they are just a lot twitchier, a lot more sensitive than those two-person sleds, and it's taking a while to adjust to them.
The good news for Sin is that she's one of the tallest athletes in the field, and so she can get further back and lean further back and get more weight over that rear axle and still see where she's going.
Exactly. Here it is. Okay, so 98.62 out of horseshoe, so top 3 speeds. Takes a little bit of a brush and a little bit early there, so might scrub a bit more time.
Yep, so a little bit like Lauren Alter, that Shamrock Devil's Dyke transition, quarter out, little tap, double tap down the straight, takes more speed away, still 3rd fastest. She'll be behind Alter by how much? Maybe about a 10th back. Yeah, 1300s behind Lauren Alter, 1:12.67.
And we just saw a few errors creeping in there into the sled, and it's so hard. Once you get offline, it can be really difficult to get back online, especially when you're in a sled that's as sensitive as these monobobs here.
Yeah, once you come out of telephone, then everything comes at you a little quicker.
Yep, there we go. We see that one tap on the slider's left, and again, hung up a little high, little late, and then tapping, and you can see that rear runner just kicking up some snow and ice at the end.
Yeah, that little tap into Devil's Dyke really messes up the next fast 4 right-handers. Bree Walker of Australia. Silver medalist in race 1 last year, 8th place in race 2. I mean, and that is racing, isn't it? The variety. 5 gold medals in her career. And last week was her first time out of the top 4 all season.
So she's hoping to get back on form here. The power from down under with a 5.84. That's a fantastic start here for Brie.
2 wins this year in Lillehammer and Sigulda, so still one of the outright front runners in the monobob field.
Indeed, yep, always fighting for those podium finishes. And this, we just mentioned the difference between monobob and the 2-man. This is an athlete who has really gelled with the monobob, and the results speak for themselves. She's always fighting for a podium as she's here about 1/4 second back, entering into the middle of the track.
And the sled dimensions are the same. The length is the same, the distance between the runners, the wheelbase, if you like, the track, the width is the same, but the weight is different, and there's just something about it that she really responds well to. Look, best speed in the forest.
Yep, best speed coming into the lower half of this track, and then getting into the high-speed portion, and only 600s back.
She's gone from 2400s back to 600s back, and now she's going to leap into the lead if she's clean here, down to Martin and Portago.
Best speeds into the green.
Here we go, track record coming up. Brie Walker will be our new leader.
Yes, indeed, by almost 1/4 second. Magnificent driving there from the Aussie. 1:11.98 track record.
Wow. Coached by the great Pierre Luders, a 2-time race winner on this track in 2-man bobsleigh. So.
Here we go. This is the shot of Horseshoe. You can see her leaning into the sled, those D-rings, taking it just off the corner and getting that clean exit and generating all that speed. Little bit of a flop there and a tiny skid, but she corrects it very quickly.
Yep, that was the Shamrock Devil's Dyke transition. She managed to hold on to that. Now then, Keisha Love, silver medalist last time out and bronze the day before, the reigning mono world champion, and a bit of a start monster on the quiet, not on the quiet at all, as well. Let's see what she's got for us. New start record, not quite, 584, same as Brianna Walker.
So right there, but great velocity. It's showing her in the green right now. So Keisha Love looking for some love on this St. Moritz track.
She's had a little meander from kink 1 to kink 2, but no skid.
A little bit high there on the exit of wall, entering this snake combination, and then into Sunny here with 300ths in the bank.
So the lead of 300s has remained constant since wall. Let's see what she's got coming up to Horseshoe. Hugging that right-hand wall, good height.
Close. Yep, good height there, clean exit, but not quite the speed, I don't think. Only 5th fastest speed, so dropping back just a tad here.
That's interesting because you haven't seen, well, there's the little telephone shamrock tap, but everything else is going nicely. So has she just got maybe a slightly narrower runner than some of the others?
Ooh, and then a couple hits there down out of Gunter Sachs at the top speed portion, and she's hurting for speed a little bit. Only 7th best speed. We'll see. Is she going to get top 5?
1/4 second back. Wow, 6/10 back.
Oh, I think those mistakes just compounded there, just on the bottom half of the track. A really impressive upper portion, but the line into Horseshoe looked a little early compared to some of the other sleds, and just wasn't able to generate some of the speeds.
I wonder what they've done in terms of runners, because this track changes so much, it evolves so much during the course of one race. I wonder if they are setting the sled up for the second heat.
Yeah, and you can see that the runner's not quite parallel, out too early there in Gunter Sachs, and then takes a double tap before Martineau. That's what hurt her speed down at the bottom, but still smiling, and she should have one more run here.
Yeah, she definitely will. Next up are her 2 teammates. First, Alana Myers-Taylor, double race winner here last year. She had a massive crash on the first day of training in the 2-man sled that really knocked the wind out of her sails and half destroyed the track as well at Telephone.
I know that it really was an awful crash here with a 590 start. So she's still in the mix, only about 500ths off or so from the pace. Alana, one of the veteran athletes in the field here, so much on her resume, but just as you mentioned, trying to come back after that really horrific crash that could have been disastrous.
Could have been disastrous, but this is a very special place for Alana. It always was. And then in the 2013 Worlds, her now husband Nick Taylor proposed to her, and so it becomes even more special. This is a real talisman track for Alana Myers-Taylor. and she always produces good results. And look at these lines.
Yeah, she also opts for that earlier line going into horseshoe, but she gets good height out of it. It could be these USA sleds here, and she does have a bit better speed, third best speed. Sitting 7th overall, though. What can she do in the bottom half here?
Well, she was 600s back at the start. It's out to 2,800. So again, like Keisha Love, maybe the runner choice is not perfect for the early frosty track, and that might turn around in the second heat when we expect it to be quicker than it is now. Second best speed.
Yep, and see, can she bring any of it back as she crosses the line? Takes a little tap out of Portago, about half of a second behind, sitting in 5th spot at the moment.
All right, and still ahead of Lauren Alter and Keisha Love. So, yeah, 4,900s, 100th behind Katy Bile in 4th.
That's some close racing right there, and we're just so glad to see Alana in the sled. Came out of it uninjured, had to do a lot of sled work just to get back in competitive, into the competitive field here.
Well, yeah, the two-seat sled that she would have been racing is now not going to be raced. It tore the axle out the front, basically, so she'll be sharing sleds. So the US women, Alana and Kaylee, and the US men, Chris Horn and Frank Del Duca, will be sharing their two-seat sleds. So Katie Humphries then, first ever women's monobob Olympic champion. She will go to Cortina to defend that title. She's been a 2-time women's Olympic champion in bobsleigh. Can she be a 2-time mono champion as well?
Yes, Kaylee, you can see her here. She's opting for the goggle strategy, one of the few athletes to actually go for goggles, and with the results that she's had over her career, it's hard to question anything that Kaylee does.
Well, she was trained in her early driving days by Pierre Ludes, who famously drove in goggles as well, so he made her do it, and now that's what she does. And she does say they never fog up, and so, you know, there's that. 400s back off a 1000s deficit start.
Yep.
So this is a nice drive from Kaylee. Now let's see if she can produce the speed.
Takes a little bit of brush there, going out of horseshoe. Third best speed, sitting in 5th at the moment, trying to get these clean lines in the lower half of the track.
But again, only 1400s back. Melly Hasler in second is 2300s back. If she's clean out of sacks, then she has a real chance to challenge for the lead. Second best speed. She's probably not going to catch Bree Walker, but is this going to be top 3 at the line? Just behind, 100th behind Melissa Lottholtz in 3rd place. Kaylee is 4th.
So she, at the moment, is the top of the 3 American sleds. So Kaylee, just outside of the podium at the moment, so she'll be hunting for one of those medals in the second heat. This is that drop off of horseshoe, getting that entry right onto telephone, and then exiting telephone into Shamrock. Just takes a tiny little flop off, but keeps the runner straight.
Here is the reigning World Cup champion, Lisa Buckwitz. 4 wins in 8 races in the World Cup last season. Winless so far this year.
Wow, 5.80 start record.
And that is part of her success. She was a gold medal winning great woman in the Olympics, and she has not lost that speed.
That's right. That was back in 2018 in Pyeongchang, where she took that gold medal as the push athlete and then has made the transition over into the driver's seat.
Yeah, Mariama Yamanka, who took that gold medal, is here this weekend again, working with German television. So the team have been reunited, sort of separately.
And you can see she's expanded that lead to, oh no, double tap before horseshoe though. That's that really tricky section. Ooh, yes, it's taken her lead down to only 0.12 of a second and only the 6th best speed there.
So she's now going to be extra careful to get the good lines here. Lisa Buckwitz has only had 1 medal on this, I know she hasn't, she had 1 win on this track and then a bronze in the World Championships in 2023. So she won in 2024. She's not going to have the lead at the line, but she could well be in 2nd place behind Bree Walker and ahead of Melly Hasler. She is halfway between the two.
1:12.12, 1400ths behind, and yes, sitting in that silver medal position for the moment in this first heat here.
What's going on with the pink tape? All right, well, That might be her best run of the season so far. And
that's
again,
the error.
The line was good. There's just a bit of ice sticking out from the wall, and that's not something you account for.
No, just a couple centimeters off on that slider's right side, and that's what threw her off, and that cost her. And she knows it, too. She knows it.
This is the one she wants. She's such fun, Lisa Buchwitz. Next up for France, Margot Bock now. She's not a fast starter, but she has the hands of an angel when she's driving a bobsled. She runs down a bobsled course like Mercury.
Well, and you can see on the front of her sled there, representing La Plagne being one of the most technical courses in the world, and she gets into her sled with a 6:04, so almost a quarter second behind our fastest starters here.
But she leaves nothing on the table when she's driving. It's absolutely flawless.
See some big waves there and wall, going for that 3 pressure line there as she enters into snake 1 and to snake 2.
Now, she's gone out from the 2/10 back at the start, went out to 2800s back, already starting to shorten that deficit to 2600s. Should be down into the teens here.
Very clean lines in that top half of the track, very impressive. Oh, it grows though to 0.3 of a second, but second fastest speed, almost at the 100 click mark.
All right, here we go. I always think she's a lot like Tina Herman in Skeleton, is that it takes more ice to get there, but the best speed of anybody that we've seen.
Really smooth lines here in this really tricky 4 right-hander combination. Top speed of the track, 130.5, 4th best speed, entirely respectable.
Lost a little. How far is she going to come up the order? Again, ducks ahead, because every 100th counts, 1:12.43. You start 12th, you finish 6th. There is nothing wrong with your driving, is there?
Not at all. When you can jump up 6 spots there, that really is a testament to your ability to navigate that sled down this tricky course here today.
And not error-free. Thank you, boys. Look at this. Low line in Horseshoe. I was surprised she was so low. And a little flop off into Telephone.
Little flop off, but this was the section where she came out with the best speed, so maybe that line works for her sled or her setup, but whatever it was some phenomenal driving.
So next up is Germany's Kim Kalicki, her 25th Monobob World Cup start, and this will be the second last race of her career in Samoritz. She's already announced that she will not continue beyond the games, so she'll race in the women's bob tomorrow, and that will be it for her career here.
6:02, putting her in the field, but she's going to need some stellar driving with this German-made sled. And interestingly, you can also see the little spoiler on the back of her helmet that you see some of these athletes have as well. Again, trying to optimize for those aerodynamics.
Well, listen, when you're battling for hundreds, and we literally are often battling to separate anybody by even 100th, everything matters.
Indeed it does.
Kalicki has never been, a little bit like Mariami Amanka, never been a fan of the monobob. It just doesn't work for her. But the 2-seat sled, now that's what she loves. So she deals with this because you have to, and then is relieved to get back into the women's bob on Saturday.
Absolutely, and she's making her way into the bottom half of the course here, about a quarter of a second behind. Respectable speeds, though, getting into that top 10, trying to fight that squirrely monobob and keep it straight. Top speed at this point, not showing at the moment, but sitting in 7th. Where will she be when she crosses the line?
Ahead of Margot Bock, yeah. So again, drove herself from 12 to 6, exactly like Margot Bock did. 100th ahead of the French woman. Off a start that was 200s quicker, so the two of them pretty much matched all the way down. And again, there's that aerodynamics. You know, you're doing 130 kilometers an hour. She's just finished 200s ahead of one other sled. That could be the 200s. I'm sure somebody clever in a wind tunnel can tell us.
I bet they could. Here it is, that replay through Horseshoe, taking that high line, getting within a couple centimeters, and then you can see the hands on the D-rings, just bringing it right off the corner. She tries to catch her breath there at the bottom.
Well, I'm sure this is one of the places that every athlete, when they retire, really miss. Nathan?
Absolutely true. I can certainly attest to that.
All right, well, no sign of that yet for Y. 30 years old. I could easily see her doing another 4 seasons. Wai Mingming missed last season entirely. She was back home in China after the tragic death of her mother, and so didn't race here last year. But she's back on form. She doesn't seem to have lost any of her pace. 5.94 at the start, a top 10 getaway.
That is getting under that 6-second mark and then opening up the deficit only at 1400ths there as she enters wall and then getting into this tricky little left-right combination from the snake corners.
All right, 10th at the start, drifting out a little to 11th place.
Right, and then here we go into Nash and into Dixon. A little bit of a skid there, not keeping it straight, and then, ooh, a couple of taps there, going late now into horseshoe. That might hurt her.
Now, she's had more, oh, and again, you can see, again, as she came into, you just see the back of the sled. Every time she's trying to steer onto a corner, the back of the sled riding up the bank.
It does, so yeah, that is not the fast way to drive a monobob, just having the tail wash out on you every little spot. That's,
And again, look at her in the sled. She's really quite a long way forward compared to a lot of the other athletes. I mean, she's not right up by the cowl, but she is sitting further forward. And maybe they've just got slightly too fat runners. The back of the sled is doing as much to drive it as she is, unfortunately. So 1:13.66.
No, that puts her at the tail end of the field, unfortunately, just behind her teammate. And we could see it, just the tail not under control, really wiggling away from her and losing a lot of speed.
Big smile on her face. Jānis Minins, the Latvian who is their coach, has a great relationship with these athletes.
Yeah, that's where it started. Nash into Dixon, tail end just getting away from her, and then Dixon causing so many problems, taking a double tap and a skid before entering horseshoe.
Now for Switzerland, the second of our sliders, Deborah Annan, and Debbie, daughter of Martin Annan, one of Switzerland's greats, 5.96 getaway.
Solid start there, getting under that 6-second mark. Getting a nice straight line there out of the kinks, going right into wall, looking dead straight there, and only 1300ths behind.
It's her second World Cup season here in Sandwich, but the year before she was the forerunner for the World Cup races in the monobob.
You can hear a bit of the clattering of the sled as it whizzes on by. Now into Nash and Dixon with a very nice line going into Dixon. Can she keep it off the wall and straight? Yes, she does. 1200ths
behind at the start. She was a 10th behind the leader at the last split out of 1500ths.
Only 10th best speed, though. Not quite the velocity that we've seen from some of these other sliders.
All right, now she's got to be super smooth through the forest.
Improving.
There we go.
Very nice lines there. 6th best speed. Jumping up the order.
Clean out of sacks, no taps, no skids, no, nice and straight down to Martina and Portago, losing a couple of spots back though. Started 12th, up to 8th, now back down to 10th at the line.
About half a second back with a 1:12.54.
So teammate Mel Hasler is still in third place, isn't she, with a 1:12.21. So a third of a second behind her teammate. Not the biggest smile on her face.
And tied with Laura Nolte from Germany. Here just clipping a little bit early, seeing those runners just get on the sled a bit too soon, and there, that was a nice straight shot from Gunter Sachs into Martineau, though.
Yeah, another tall athlete. And if you remember her dad's smile, that's the same. Next up, Adele Nicoll of Great Britain, 21st, missed the cut in race 1 last season, then 13th in race 2.
Some great artwork there on this GB sled. One of the slicker designs that we've seen really going out there with the aesthetics as she gets into her sled with a 5.96.
Now watch Adele's head, up scope, down scope. She only looks when she needs to know where she's going. Once she's got that line, she will drop her head below the parapet.
Yeah, just taking a couple taps there in that second straightaway out of kink number 2, and so that's going to rob her from a little bit of that velocity as she gets into the more technical corners here.
Ooh, and a big tap there as well out of Snake 2 down to Sunny.
Going into Nash Dixon. Tricky combination. How's she going to come out? She has plenty of room and enters cleanly into horseshoe. So that looks nice. How's the speed?
Yeah, not the best height, and a little tap from Telephone into Shamrock. Yep. Clean into Devil's Dyke, only the 12th best speed.
Yep, clean looking lines here in the middle section of the track, just not generating the speed that we've seen from some of the other athletes. One of the younger, less experienced athletes in the field, we should say as well, too.
Yeah, made her mono debut in Lillehammer a couple of years ago, and her two-man debut, or women's bob debut, a few races later. Is she going to be 14th in line? Okay, so 1:12.98.
So 1 full second behind our leader here, with just a few errors creeping in, but not a horrible run by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, the dragon on the side of the sled reflecting her Welsh heritage. She's a British national champion in shot and a Commonwealth medalist as well.
Those were the costly errors at the top. Those 2 taps there on that long flat straightaway.
She won't be overjoyed with that run. You still see how cold the air is. Everybody steamy like racehorses. Switzerland's 3rd driver, new to the World Cup this season. She's the Europe Cup Monobob champion, and she was the runner-up in the women's bobsleigh competition in Europe Cup last year. It's only her 3rd season of sliding, but Enola Blatty has fitted into the World Cup really well so far this year. Well, she's been in the teens. She's made the cut every race. 2 15th place finishes have been her best results.
And driving off the block there and jumping into the sled before those groups end, and then you just have that open ice to navigate with a 5:93, so 10th fastest start here.
So only 900s behind the leader. And again, like Mel Hasler, sitting back. Now, she's not a tall athlete like Hasler or like her teammate Debbie Annan, but she's still trying to get the weight as far back as possible in the sled.
That's right. That's what we were hearing from all the athletes here, is that they got to add more weight to that rear axle, because that's what gets so twitchy underneath them. That's why they end up leaning so far back.
Long skid through Nash to Dixon.
No, that's not going to help her, causing a very low line through the middle of horseshoe high at the end and flops off there. 11th best speed.
But still, 500s back.
So in the mix.
Yeah, she'd halved the start deficit, but now that's going out, and that's double the start deficit. Speed is slightly better.
No, I think that was the horseshoe error that we saw, that I just couldn't quite get that speed at the lower portion. Here at the very bottom, though, 7th best speed.
Yeah, 10th at the start. This could be top 5. Kaylee Humphries is 5th, and Enola Blatty's 800s behind her. That's a really good run for Enola Blatty. Mel Hasler 3rd, Enola Blatty 6th. And Debbie Annan tied for 11th. Tied with Lara Nolte, Debbie Annan, which is, I mean, on any other day, never a bad thing. But look,
she's overjoyed.
Isn't she, though? I mean, that's her first top 6 run in the World Cup. Well, no question.
And she's in great company just ahead of her. Kaylee Humphries, multiple Olympic medalists, and then just behind her you have Kim Kalicki. So she is in some rarefied air here in St. Moritz.
Look at the smile. Oh, it's rarefied air as well.
In both senses.
Next up, Linda Wyszewski of Poland. 13th and 12th in last year's 2 monobob races here. And that was tough work for the women, actually. Pushing the sled on your own once in a weekend in a race is enough, but 2 consecutive races, that's too much.
Here we go with a 5:94 to get her just a 10th behind the fastest athletes here, but it puts her in the mix.
So that's 100 slower at the start than Enola Blatty, who we've just seen drive her way into 6th position. So from that start, especially on this track, anything is possible.
Oh, taking 3 big waves there through wall, some of the biggest oscillations that we've seen so far in the race. Let's see what that does to her. Still holding with 1/10 of a second back.
Again, quite a tough transition through Snake. Nice Nash and Dixon.
Very clean into horseshoe 2, taking a middle late line. Good height. Oh, takes a little bit of a tap there before telephone, though.
Yeah.
Yes, and only 16th best speed. I think that's going to hurt her a little bit. Just not doing her any favors with that hit there.
And she's our 20th sled. Speed is coming up a little, but when she gets down to the bottom, the field will be full, and the other 5 athletes will all have to try and go faster to push their way in.
Coming out a little bit early from Martineau there, but avoids the hit, crossing the line. 1:12.89.
All right, well, we know for a fact she will get a second heat, because there will be 5 sleds, or there are 5 sleds behind her now, and 5 won't get a run. So she's safe. Adele Nicol, Ying Ching, Wai Ming Ming, Leo Hasselvanta, and Giada Andreuti all potentially might not get a second heat, but Linda definitely will.
Here's that line out of horseshoe, so just dropping out of horseshoe, getting a bit early onto telephone.
Now, Georgeta Popescu, our youth Olympic champion on this track in 2020. 6:16. She's not a fast starter. She made the cut in Cortina, missed out in Innsbruck, and her other World Cup race in Winterberg, she was 24th last week.
Yeah.
So again, along with maybe Jada Andriuti, Lea Hasselvanter, it's going to be tough for her to make the run. The advantage uniquely here of coming later in the run is the track is potentially faster than it was for those who get the top 3 start rule.
Exactly, and we have the snow that has stopped, so that has hopefully sped up the track a little bit. She's sitting in 19th at the moment as she goes through Horseshoe. Pretty clean line so far. It's just that start deficit which isn't helping her. She has, oh no, and a little skid there. Oh, she's got to drive it like she stole it if she wants to get into the second heat here.
Well, speed is picking up, 16th best speed. She's already got 3 sleds behind her. This is going to bump Jada Andriuti of Italy out of the second heat.
Top speed portion of the track into Martineau with 1:29.24, 11th best speed.
She does drive well, Giorgetti. You don't accidentally win the Youth Olympics. 1:13.24, and she is 17th, 3 behind her. That might be enough. It might be enough. Jada Andriuti, 21st, does not get a second heat, but she's happy with that.
She is. She is pumped up crossing that finish line. There we see that skid, just that back end of the sled breaking away from her.
Telephone Shamrock. Well, she knows she's in for the moment, and actually, she's got a very good chance. Now, Patricia Tanurova for the Czech Republic is our next slider, the 22nd on ice. Kelly van Petegem with the colours of Belgium on her helmet queued up behind. Then Aussie Sarah Blizzard. And then finally Simona Di Silvestro for Italy. So what can Tanurova do? Again, the Czechs, stunning sled liveries.
That is, yes.
I don't know who their designer is, but yeah, lots of kudos.
Beautiful sled. Oh, really well designed there from the Czech team.
And Tanurova, again, not the most experienced. It's only her 6th World Cup start. She didn't race in St. Moritz last year, but 5:98. The start is very decent, and she does have driving potential. She really does.
And she's got a straight shot there into wall. Runner staying almost perfectly parallel there as she makes her way into this multi-pressure corner and then into the snake combination. Certain right at the moment, sitting in 15th. Ooh, takes a little hit before Sunny.
Yeah, had a little skid in Snake 1, Snake 2, and so came out sideways.
Yeah, the Nash-Dixon combination, exiting Dixon, clean into Horseshoe here.
Passes the minibus that picks up the riders from the crest of run, but rattles away through Telephone and Shamrock and Devil's Dyke.
Yeah, getting rough there on the exit there of Horseshoe. The sled just getting away from her. She seems to have fixed it. Got to get the sled under control, fix those lines. Sometimes it's so difficult getting back on line once you start hitting, but this is looking pretty solid.
Now, with those errors, if she was in the top 3 on slower ice, she'd have been out of the back of the field, but still got 16th best speed. She'll have 3 behind her. This is going to bump Lea Hasselvanter out of the race. It does. So Lea Hasselvanter of Austria does not get a run.
And Patricia looks like she's sitting in a good spot here on the bubble here with 3 sleds remaining. So
well, she's put Georgetta Popescu, Ying Qing, and Wai Ming Ming behind her. So it was a pretty low line in Horseshoe, but she should be through. That's just enough.
That was the big hit there just before Telephone. Oh, those left bunks. Hitting hard there.
Yeah, that's the wall that Alana Myers-Taylor's sled destroyed. And in retaliation, it destroyed her sled as well. Next up, Kelly van Petegem of Belgium. Tied for 14th in race 1 last year, 17th in race 2. So every opportunity to make the cut. She made the cut. She was 15th in Cortina. Her only other World Cup race was last week. Just missed out, 21st in Winterberg, 6:04. Now, this is a track, again, with Kelly's start, that she should be able to drive beyond that 19th start position.
That is the hope. They're currently sitting in 20th, so on the bubble, has to make up a little over a quarter of a second at the moment. Hopefully that deficit doesn't draw out any further. She does have a little bit of a skid there in the snake combination, and now entering into Sunny here with 0.3 of a deficit.
Just avoided the wall beside Monty's Bolt, but again, skid between Nash and Dixon.
And another little skid there going into Horseshoe. Early line, but really high, up near the woodwork there as she exits, about half a second behind. 12th best speed though, but a skid. Oh, how is this gonna going to end up.
Well, this is up and down, isn't it? You know, so every time she tidies it up, the next corner trips her over. 13th best speed, this should be enough. If she can hang on clean out of Gunter Sachs and not skid down the straight. It was a little skid out of Sachs, but 9th best speed.
That's great speed there. A little early out of Martineau and then a little late into Portago, but sitting in 17th, 1.03 seconds back with a 1:13.01.
Well, there's her push athletes. Her coach, Anne van Nieuwenhuis, at the top at the start. Will be happy with that to see Kelly recover from those little dramas. There was 3 or 4 different incidents down the run, but still enough to put her into the second heat, and great height, some of the best we've seen. But then again, out of Shamrock into Devil's Dyke. She basically misses Devil's Dyke entirely because she's busy sorting out the big skid.
Exactly. So a few things to improve on, some things to clean up, and hopefully she can do that in the second run.
Right, 2 to go. Sarah Blizzard of Australia, 24th and 21st here last year. Anne van Nieuwenhuis as well, coaching her, and you heard her brakeman Desi at the top yelling. 6.19. Now, 23rd and 24th are her 2 World Cup races this year, but she made the cut for the second race, or for the first time in her career, last time out in the women's bobsleigh in Winterberg, so she is full of confidence.
She is, and she's going to need all of it to get down this track and to try and make that cut into the second heat. Currently sitting in 23rd, but jumping up now into 21st, about half a second behind the leader, which is her teammate, Bree Walker.
Yeah, nice smooth lines from Sarah Blizzard. Aptly named nominative determinism, obviously. Not bad at all from Telephone and Shamrock, and look at the speed, 11th best. This should see her make the cut for the first time, I think, in her World Cup career.
And she's climbing up the order from 20th all the way to 17th. If she can just keep the sled straight, she's got a shot, and she'll make it to the second heat.
So Storm Sarah blizzarding her way down. Too many weather-related puns for me. 16th best, this is it. She's in for the first time this season. Makes the cut, 16th place, yes.
1:12.95, inside 1 second behind her teammate there. Oh, she's got to be pumped about that one.
Yep, absolutely. First time she's made the cut. Yes, thank you. You see, you know it's in there, and sometimes, again, Nathan, as an athlete, you know this, you hope the potential's there, you believe you can do it, and then even just once when it comes out, that really ignites the flame, doesn't it?
It does. It's such a confidence builder, too, because it shows that you belong. You're there, you can make the cut, you are in the field. It is absolutely a confidence booster.
You're always struggling, but you're no longer the straggler. You are in there. Now then, the final driver is literally that. Ex-IndyCar Formula E sports car racer, Simona Di Silvestro. Why did she become a bobsleigh pilot? Because when the games are coming to Italy, one of her 2 homes, she thought, I want to be an Olympian. I drive stuff. What can I do? Bobsleigh is the obvious answer.
That is. We see she does have a start deficit, though, so 5:22, that puts her towards the back of the field in terms of start speed and start velocity here, and that has grown to about half a second behind. So she's going to rely on all of that driving skill in all those cars to try and bring it back here down the track.
And it's only her 3rd season on ice as well. It's only her 2nd World Cup start. So Simona had a massive deficit in terms of knowledge and experience and feel for the ice and just the rhythm of this track. But she is so passionate about what she's doing.
You know, she loves speed, she loves the adrenaline, she enjoys it, and look at that, 2nd fastest speed out of Horseshoe. She's doing something right.
Well, I don't know how many other Indy 500 racers have been down this track, but I know Michael Schumacher's been down as a passenger, but never as a driver, but she's going to make the cut for the first time and absolutely flying at the bottom.
Hitting 130 kilometers an hour, 15th, and now into 14th. Only 66 hundredths behind. That is some phenomenal driving there.
Big smile from Simone Di Battazzo there, and she pushes out Georgetta Popescu. Neither of the Chinese athletes make it, or Lea Hasselvanter or Giada Angiuti, but she makes the cut. Look, she's done it in qualifying for the Indy 500. She's made that grid on numerous occasions, and now she makes the cut for the very first time in her nascent World Cup career.
That's the exit off of Horseshoe into Telephone. Great speeds. Congratulations.
37 years old, she has seen and done so much in her career, and now she's aiming to be an Olympian. And Bree Walker aiming to go again, but before then, looking to claim her first win in St. Moritz in the Monobob. Silver medalist in one of the 2 races last year, bronze medalist 2 seasons ago. There's the progression, bronze, silver. Will it be gold? Well, she has the first heat lead, and she will have the fastest ice, if it doesn't snow, in the second heat. 1400s ahead of Lisa Buchwitz. Melly Hassler in there in the mix as well. Don't count out Lottholtz or Humphreys, former teammates. Melissa Lottholtz pushed a lot of sleds for Kaylee Humphreys when Kaylee was a Canadian. And Alana Myers-Taylor, double winner last year, half a second back in 10th. Lauren Alter, what happened there? I do not know. Maya Voigt, Kristen Buznovsky did not start, and Popescu, Ying, Y, Hasselvanter and Andreucci do not get a second heat, but Patricia Taniarova holds on. So heat 2 comes up at 10:30 Central European, 09:30 Greenwich Mean Time, 04:30 Eastern. Join us for that. Till then, for the crew here in St. Moritz, from Martin Haven, Nathan Crumpton, we'll see you then. Bye for now.